Act 2, Pen Pals from Hell continues. Once again, John Miller.
Jason Moss's dark courtship was about to reach its climax. The 18-year-old college freshman was about to meet John Wayne Gacy, who was awaiting execution for the murders of 33 young men. Gacy was on death row at Menard State Prison in Chester, Illinois. The guard led Jason down a hallway. Behind a gate, Gacy stood waiting, loosely handcuffed.
So when he unlocked the gate and I stood face to face with Gacy, my heart was racing. I mean, I was very scared, but, you know, I still felt kind of safe. All of a sudden, the guard shuts and locks the gate behind me and completely walks away. Now I'm left all alone in this room with John Wayne Gacy. I look up, and the camera that was in the room is completely turned away, facing at nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Jason knew how dangerous Gacy was. He'd studied the murders, the victims, how they were killed, all the evidence. But Jason believed, naively perhaps, that he could manipulate Gacy, get him to reveal secrets about the murders. But by modeling himself after Gacy's victims, he'd unleashed something else.
He started telling me how, you know, you're nothing without me. I could easily kill you right now. And by the time the guards got here, you'll have bled to death on the floor. You see this pen? I could stick this in your throat. And by the time the guards got here, you'll be dead on the floor.
You believe that?
Oh, I definitely did. And you got to remember, the role I portrayed with John Wayne Gacy was of this weak, naive, submissive boy. But after being drilled for 2 hours by this man, that's exactly how I felt. Worthless. I felt like I was nothing, like he did control me.
Jason says he noticed a small room furnished with a single chair across from the visiting area. Gacy told him what the chair was for. Gacy expected Jason to have sex with him.
And I started to cry in front of Gacy. I sobbed. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't take it anymore. And when I was crying, it forced him to see me as a person for a brief period of time. And he kind of snapped out of it at this point in time.
I couldn't believe Jason would even consider going back to the prison for a second visit, but he did. It had become a test of wills. Jason took the lead. He asked the guards to take his picture with Gacy. Once again, they were left alone.
And at this point, he says, Jason, you know, do you want me to show you the rope trick that everyone talks about?
The rope trick was Gacy's means of torturing his victims. After restraining them with handcuffs, he would loop a rope around their necks, slide a stick through the knot, and twist it to cut off their air. Jason demonstrated for me how Gacy placed a pen through the silver bracelet he was wearing and began to turn it.
But now my hand's starting to turn white from the pain. He's not letting go. He's still twisting this bracelet around my wrist. It's starting to hurt. Now I'm thinking, oh no, I'm losing control again.
Jason says Gacy's rage was building. He kept looking at the chair in that small room. It was as if Gacy was in some kind of flashback from his killing days.
This guy has broken me down. I mean, it's just the rage. And how many people are in a room alone with a serial killer in a jail cell, knowing the guards are on the other side locked? He's standing in front of you, telling you how he's going to rape you, and he's ready to do it, and it's going to happen.
But it didn't happen, according to Jason, because at that point, one of the guards knocked on the door. Spared but shaken, Jason Moss left the prison. He wasn't coming back.
But inside, I felt dirty. Just like any victim of sexual assault or attempted assault, you feel dirty, you feel it's your fault, you blame yourself.
The Menard prison confirms that Jason Moss did spend time alone with Gacy, but maintains the visits were closely monitored. But the former FBI profilers say they weren't as surprised as I was that Gacy could have persuaded the guards to leave him alone with a young man.
Was he in real danger?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I could foresee a scenario where if he had him in his control one last time, he would try to do as much of the torturing of him as he could, just like he did with his other victims, and then, in fact, complete the final act. And that would be his final act of revenge against society.
When I asked convicted serial killer Henry Lee Lucas if he thought Gacy could have killed Jason, he offered an opinion, and he ought to know.
And how dangerous do you think it was for him? I mean, do you think that Jason Moss...
It was dangerous going even into that room with him because he was a killer that loved what he did. He would have killed a guy.
Jason was so traumatized by his experience with Gacy that he cut off all contact with his serial killer pen pals. He finally came out of it when he wrote his book, The Last Victim. He says he told his story publicly in part to cleanse himself. As for John Wayne Gacy, he kept his date with the executioner just 2 months after his encounter with Jason Moss. Gacy was gone, but it was clear to me he was still very much with Jason.
Gacy won, you know? I mean, looking back, I got information from him, but he got what he wanted. He got to see me suffer, he got to see me squirm, and although he's been executed, he's always going to be a part of my mind. If I knew then what I know now, I would never have done it. Never have even written the first letter. It was too much. I mean, I was almost killed.